Welcome back to Too Tired. I'm Christian.
And I'm Libby.
We are here with Marianne Pacha today. She owns Pacha Photo Co. as well as Flight Bar and Grill, which is coming soon. Marianne, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and your two businesses.
So my husband and I live in Huxley, Iowa, which is kind of smack dab in the middle of Ames and Ankeny. And I started my photography business kind of unintentionally in September of 2020. I had a camera. I had the typical mom-tographer story where I had a baby, wanted to take pictures of him, capture him as he grew. And then I had a friend who wanted me to take a picture of a pregnancy announcement, posted them, and then just kind of started snowballing. I knew I liked it and I enjoyed it and I wanted a way to connect with people, but I had no idea what it was going to turn into, which I feel like is kind of the best businesses when you don't have a huge game plan end game. Yeah. I was just doing it because I liked it and was just barely charging anything, and then just kind of grew from there. And then Flight Bar and Grill is the bar and grill that we're opening here in Huxley. It's going to be opening very soon, knock on wood. Everything just keeps getting delayed with supply chain and everything, but we're looking at a February 2022 open date. So we're within a few months now of opening. So we're super excited about that.
Now, is that a franchise, or are you just sole on your own? It's all you.
Ours. Yep. So it's called Flight because we live in Huxley and the school district is the Ballard Bombers. And so the mascot is the B-52 airplane. And so we're how can we tie into the community a little bit? And so Flight. So it's super just modern and industrial, both little tie-ins to airplanes and stuff, but it's not super gimmicky or anything.
Sure.
It's kind of a fun laid back place, and not a franchise. We're going for it. We're jumping off the cliff. We're going to try and make a name for ourselves. And
I love it. It's so exciting. And especially seeing all your, if you don't follow it on social media, you should, but all your posts and things look so good and always capture my eye. And I'm I can't wait for that to open. So you're killing it on that front.
How do you go from photography to opening a restaurant? What's the connection there? Or is that something that your husband does? Or is that something that you've always wanted to do? What's the connection between the two?
Once again, I feel stars kind of aligned with Flight. So my husband worked for Hy-Vee for the last 12 years. So he was a company man through and through. He worked there full time all through college and took accelerated night courses because he wanted to be a store director, work at corporate someday. And just as we were together and we started a family, we have a 2-year-old son, and just kind of settled into our late 20s now, it just wasn't as conducive to our lifestyle and our goals. And so, and we had realized that Huxley was just really underserved as far as amenities for how quickly it was growing. And even though we're really close to Ankeny and Ames, we still have tons of young families here that want something to do, there's not tons of food options here. So just having a few different food options to rotate through if you want to go out to eat. And so we had talked to a few friends that own businesses here in Huxley, probably 2 years ago. Why are there not more things here? We may be interested. The other tidbit is my husband's a huge cyclist. He's done RAGBRAI every year for the last decade. And so we realized there wasn't a restaurant on the trail here either. And so we're a lot of other small towns, that's a huge, operation for them. And so we're originally looking into doing that was to have some sort of bike bar on the bike trail. And it just kind of was a fun idea. But once again, we were young, didn't really have the means to do it. We're starting a family and stuff. And then a developer here in town, Chris Gardner, was looking into building a large, almost strip mall. And he was talking to some other business owners who we had talked to about why haven't things been successful? We're looking into it. And he was we want to have a restaurant. Do you know of anyone? And they were Matt, Marianne, Pacha have talked about it in the past. You should get in touch with them. So then he reached out to us, and it just kind of happened from there. So I feel stars really aligned. It was meant to be. And so my husband at Hy-Vee was oversaw he was the manager of store operations, assistant store director, manager of perishables. So he's overseen the restaurant at Hy-Vee plus all the perishable department. So he's no stranger to food and liquor, wine and spirits. So I feel it's logical. And then I come into play as I'm the content creator, marketing. I love working with people. So I'm looking forward to doing HR stuff and things like that. So
So
Works out a nice combination.
yeah. So is he still at Hy-Vee or is he doing this full time as well?
He's going to be doing it full time. So he actually, once again, the timeline's been delayed so much. So we were supposed to be open months ago, but so we left Hy-Vee in October, and that's where being photographer came into play really nicely because it was crazy busy. So I've always been doing it a bit more casually here and there. And when that happened, and they're like, actually, it's not going to be until winter. I was like, Matt, if you want me to go, like, I will grind. I just need you to tell me you'll take care of things at home. And so then
right.
Libby, as you can attest to, I totally overdid it. I had like 10 plus sessions a week for like 4 months, and I was not good. But you know what I mean? You do what you have to do under those circumstances. But things I will never do as a creative ever again is that, because I could hardly look at my camera right now. I don't know if you ever had that before. But.
Oh yeah, it's a hard lesson learned, and for some freaking reason, I keep doing it to myself every year.
I know,
but not next year. Next year, I'm not. I'm just boundaries.
I notice a lot of parallels with what you said with it wasn't the lifestyle that you wanted to have. And I mean, I'm pushing 30. I'll be 30 in 6 weeks. And I've been in retail since I was 16. Aside from the time I was in school, I have a design background. Like, we've talked about this a lot lately. Like, my 9 to 5 isn't obviously the lifestyle I want to live. I want to live more by her schedule and, you know, my family's schedule. So what has been the best part about that as far as getting to live the lifestyle you want to live, but still be able to work and establish businesses? And now obviously photos got a little bit more freedom than a restaurant's going to as far as hours go. So how do you expect that to change? But what has been the best part of making your own schedule?
A few things. One, I'm sure you guys can attest to this. When you're doing it for yourself, it just feels different. Like, I feel like we're working a ton right now, but it just feels so much more intrinsically motivated. I don't feel like anyone's looking over my shoulder. I think about a project, and then I get to create the timeline for it, and I get to gather the materials and gather the vendors. And I need that. I also need the pressure on my back directly. I don't do well working under people as well as I thought I ever would. I really like working for myself. And so that's really nice. And on top of that, one thing I've been able to notice more with creating our own schedules and working for ourselves is realizing when I'm getting burnt out and being able to follow my like creative process and being more aware of that. Like, I can tell if it's 3 o'clock and I'm kind of dilly-dallying, hitting a wall. I'm like, okay, I could just push through this and get, 20 minutes worth of work done in 2 hours, just kind of piddle farting around, or I can take the break, go on the walk, throw some laundry in, and then come back when I'm fresh. And I feel like I never had that sort of self-awareness before, because it was just, I was on the clock at work, and you just work the hours you're supposed to, and you just kind of jump through the hoops when you need to. And I feel like now I'm more aware of that. So those are probably the two things I've really liked about creating our own schedules and being in charge of ourselves.
Yeah, I feel like being self-employed and owning your own business, you literally are still always working 24/7, even though you didn't sign up for it. But it's like
on top of having a child.
Yeah. Yes. But it's such a weird and different feeling, just like you said, like self-motivating and like being able to step back whenever you need to, if you need to, is totally different than the pressure of a 9 to 5 and like having somebody watch your every move.
Yeah, I think, again, working a 9 to 5 and not being my own boss, I mean, I am a leader in our building, and I don't have any direct reporting employees, but my job with merchandising and stuff, I pretty much, everyone's kind of my team. So I do have a direct report, and then obviously we have like upper management above me. But I think the part that I worry about most about making the jump to hopefully someday being self-employed or doing something with Libby in like some capacity is it's definitely the self-motivation, just like taking an online class, like keeping to a set deadline. And I think sometimes, at least working in a 9 to 5, being told what to do is like going to class. You have a teacher there to tell you, hey, this is what you need to do. It's easy to get done. It's not like it's the most strenuous job of all time. But then after that, it's like, okay, now what? Like, what am I supposed to do? And that's the thing that I worry about with someday trying to venture out of
Yeah.
corporate America.
And that's where I feel like it's different. I think it depends on how you operate. Like, I love the rush that, like, I don't need someone to tell me what to do and structure it for me, because it is such an adrenaline rush to like get the client or have the project or have the deadline. And when the pressure is on your shoulders, like, it's so fun. I feel like work is like a game sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, no one else is putting those deadlines for me. Like, if I want to make the money or I want to get the client or I want to finish the project, like, it's all on me.
Yeah, but that, I think that glorifies it a little too much, because there's the downside too. Like, what if you take the client and then you don't do it? So I think that's the difference.
There's also a downside, like being your own boss and self-employed and like working from home has its downfalls for sure. Like, especially if you're not like, I don't know if type A is the right word, but if you're not like, what am I trying to say? Like, if you're not good at setting your own schedule and like, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I mean, I've done freelance work, and like you said, the rush of it is like, I think for me, the rush is doing all of it, like start to finish. It's the chase, but it's also like, once you have that person in your grasp, you're going to be able to do whatever. The weird part though is in like, okay, what do I charge? And like that awkwardness sometimes. And I know Libby can attest to it. I'm sure you can too. Like, asking people for money is the weirdest thing. I've done websites for people. I've done logos for people. Yeah. And if you don't establish that up front, and then you undervalue yourself because you want them to think they're getting a deal so then you can get something out of it, to me, it's the weird part. And that's something that going forward, I need to be very upfront with people before I do work, because it happened again with someone. I was doing a logo. I was like, oh, hey, by the way, you owe me $400 or whatever it was. And they're like, what? Mm-hmm. They're either going to be very shocked and very pissed off. They're probably still going to pay it. They're just never going to hire you again. Or they're going to be like, oh, only that much? Like, that's great. So I think that is another huge draw against.
Ours is a little different because we already have, like, we have our prices set before we even, like, commit with someone.
Right, but even then, like, how many times have you been at a wedding and they're like, oh, can you stay a little bit longer? Even if you've been very explicit.
But they know those added on prices.
But do they really know it? You can tell people something 100 times. That doesn't mean they're going to be like, oh, yeah, it's $50.
Yes, because I don't leave without it.
Or whatever. Well,
I can just hear the photography community screaming at him, like, well, what is your contract say?
I know.
Can you I can hear them being like, it's clearly stated in your contract, so there's no
literally every time he does freelance work, I'm like, you need to set these boundaries.
But it's like syllabus day. Like, it's the first thing that you get when you're like reaching out to a vendor, and then how often do you think if at all, have they ever gone back and reread that? That doesn't mean you're in the wrong.
I think it protects the artist, you know what I mean? Or whoever.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Right? I just mean that they're not going to necessarily know.
I think there's a lot of people who don't read contracts when you send it to them.
100%.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, though, is it's nice to have something in writing to fall back on. If they said, would you be able to stay 30 more minutes? Say, I'd be happy if you actually want to. I'd be happy to, but per our contract, you can, you know what I mean?
You're at page 12, section C.
You know what I mean? But yes. No, but yes, you know what I mean? Like, be happy to, but just remember, like, it's this much extra, you know?
Right.
And
yeah, like, I don't, whether they
send that charge, you know?
Whether the client reads it or not, I don't care. It's to back me up and back my business up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Again, my bigger point was the awkwardness of some of that is something that has always been a setback to me.
Yeah. But pricing yourself is super, super hard.
But that's where I guess, like you said, in the photo business, it better be upfront, because hopefully there's not people owing you money come the day of their wedding or, you know, the day of their session. But when you build a website and you don't know how long it's going to take, whether it's 20 or 100 hours, then it gets weird. But again, hopefully someday. Okay. My goal is maybe one more job between the job I'm currently in and self-employment. But maybe I can
just dive right into self-employment with me.
That sounds financially safe.
I'm financially safe.
I can go get a job at Flight Bar and Grill opening soon.
But Sando, I was actually going to ask you, so you say you do website design. Do you ever do website like management? Asking for a friend.
That friend is me.
Having done the design piece of it, the management part shouldn't be that bad.
Especially if you're using like a template from Showit or Squarespace or...
We had like a friend of a friend who created it for us. Like, he actually writes code, and then we used GoDaddy's, like, I don't know. There's some, acronyms, that thing, language I don't speak or understand. Sure. But now I think he works full-time job and did it to us, like, on the side. I don't think he wants to be the one to babysit it. So if you're looking for a job to babysit a website and upload things, let me know.
we talked about that on one podcast. I don't know if we were live when we did that or if we were recording, but that was something that we kind of had in mind with this podcast was me dipping my toes into any creative industry, let alone meeting creatives, let alone creatives talking about the things that they need help with too, because maybe there's somebody listening right now too that knows way more about web design than me, and they can say, hey, I can help. Like, I think that's a great potential from this is helping each other with stuff and maybe finding better people for the job that you didn't know you needed help with. So, man, who was it that we talked? Sarah.
I don't know.
But that was all after we recorded.
Yeah.
That was about some other business stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I know we said that this podcast isn't about business, even though we just spent the last 15 minutes talking about it. It's fine. I totally forgot to have you share what kind of photography are you into or diving into?
Yes. I love that little segue. So I feel like with a lot of photographers at the beginning, I was like, yeah, I'll take a picture of literally anything. You'll hire me to take a picture. You know what I mean? Because you have to build a portfolio and you're trying to network and get to know people. So at the beginning, I was like, couples, great. This, great. You know what I mean? Like families, great. Literally anywhere you want me, I will be there with my camera with a smile and bells and whistles on.
Yeah.
As I've done more things and had more shoots and met more families, I really, really like families and babies and little ones. Like, I feel like my ideal session is like a family of 6, like 4 little kids that are all like under the age of 10. They're just like want to run around and be rambunctious. Like my ideal scenario.
That
like,
makes me cringe.
Oh my gosh.
And I lean into the chaos. So I used to, one of the things is, I used to teach preschool. I've had millions of jobs.
That makes sense. That makes more sense.
So I've bopped. So before I found photography, I bopped here and there and everywhere. I also have raging ADHD. I didn't know that until like years ago. And so that made sense. So after a year, I would conquer a job and I'd be like, I know everything about this. I need to know. Like I'm now bored of it. Like I'm over it. So one of the millions of jobs I had was I was a preschool teacher. My background is actually in child development. And so I felt like this was also a really good way for me to play games with kids and be on their level and be goofy and fun. But then also after an hour, like send them home to their parents and not be like responsible for them. So it's kind of a good marriage. So the crazier it gets, the more I like it. Like if you give me a wild kiddo that the parents are like, they've never cooperated, I'm like, great. Yes. Like let's make this as fun and goofy as possible. And I feel like it's usually gone pretty well.
You are literally killing it. I told Christian, we gotta book something with Marianne.
Thank you.
They're so good. So good. And every time you post, it just gets better and better. And your families are just so freaking stylish.
Okay. So that's been something I keep telling Matt, like, I don't know if I'm unintentionally doing like some subliminal like marketing or messages, but all my families have been like so kind, so beautiful. Like even all my referrals, you know what I mean? Or people just like find me, like, I don't know what's happening, but they've seriously all been the sweetest, nicest. One of my last sessions I did before Christmas, the girl hugged me when she met me. And I was like, this is so nice. Like, seriously, just like the nicest families ever.
You must be a hugger. I'm not a hugger.
Oh, I'm big, snuggly, touchy-feely person. So if anyone's listening to this and they want to book me, hug me when we meet. I'll love it. It's the best thing ever. But so family photography, crazier the better. And then what Libby was alluding to is I'm just doing newborn photography. I actually just had my very first newborn session on Monday? Like yesterday? Was that just yesterday?
Today's Tuesday.
Today is Tuesday.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh, it was yesterday. So literally just yesterday, I had my first little baby. She was only 2 weeks old. Her name was Stella. It was my hairstylist baby.
You got to post them. You have to post them.
I'm going to. Yes. Well, the other thing is my our daycare is closed this week. And so I will be posting them, but editing's a little behind as our 2-year-old is at home. And we're also taking this week off of childcare to potty train him. So I've been a little preoccupied with a naked 2-year-old, but I definitely will be posting them as soon as I have some ready. But I have a little studio up in one of our spare bedrooms now and doing some pose newborns and then like small milestone, like 1 year, like still littles milestones up there as well. So
I love it. I can't wait to see more of that.
Thank you so much.
I want to go back to the ADHD thing because same, and how ADD of me to go back to that. So if you're anything like me and or every other person with it, how many hobbies do you have and how much money do you spend on them? Because is it a lot? Like you said with the jobs,
Well, it doesn't even have to be hobbies.
No, but like,
What do you spend a lot of money on?
Do you fully dive into everything you do? For example, a podcast, or what are the other 1,000 things that I start and don't actually redoing a house?
Everything.
So I guess
I will become completely like emerged. Like it is my lifestyle. Like it is a part of my character and who I am. And then once I conquer it or have had enough of it, like I'm like, no, I never want to do it ever again.
Yeah, mine normally don't even get to that point.
He doesn't even conquer it.
No,
he just gets bored of it.
So here's the funny thing.
Another crazy idea comes to mind.
Well, the funny thing is this is the culmination of all of that, because all of the photo things I've wanted to do, all the video things I've wanted to do, all of the editing, all of the fancy computer I built, like it is now all of this, which is why it's perfect.
We just put like $2,000 into it. It's fine.
Yes, absolutely.
All in, man.
So what are a couple hobbies that you are extremely into, or things that you would like to get into, and did they cost you way more money than you expected them to?
I was a hand letterer for a while, like had
calligraphy.
Like did the videos, went and bought like all the expensive pens in the world, like made ornaments, did all these things. And then one day I was like, do I like this? And I like haven't really done like, why am I like this? I don't know, my brain's just wired that way. Like, I'm trying to think other things I've like really like latched onto. I love interior design and I get bored of my surroundings often. So my poor husband, he always jokes I buy new throw pillows like once a month. Like
we talked about that 2
it
episodes
must
ago.
Be at like a women photographer Midwest thing.
It's a Target thing. You walk into Target and you see all the new shit for the whole new spring line, fall line, summer line, Christmas line, Easter line.
Mine's the need for my surroundings to be aesthetic, cozy, and vibe. Like I am the queen of vibes. I pick up on people. I'm a huge empath. I pick up on people's vibes, pick up on the vibes of things around me. Like if things don't feel vibey, it like messes with how I feel and how productive I am. Like it messes with me. So that's what, like my husband, very ADHD. My husband went out of town for literally like 3 days and he took Warren with him. And I was like, should I redo the whole house? And I painted this wall green. Like by myself.
It looks great. If you're not on YouTube watching, get on, man.
Like I painted that wall green and I DIY'd those canvases. I was like out in my front yard, just like painting all day. Like,
I love it.
Being a psycho. Like I bought this I bought this light off marketplace and just like spray painted it and hung it. Like,
okay.
Very ADHD.
Christian won't let me even put a freaking nail in our wall.
Well, if I could send him out of town. That's what happened. Matt went out of town, and I was like, "Should I just go buy everything?" Yes.
I know,
Good
but
luck.
if he came home to me doing a project, he'd rip my head off.
Yeah, my husband is very kind and calm, and knows this is how I am. So
I would like to say that I'm also kind and calm, but
most of the time.
There are so many holes in the wall because Sheila will just like start hammering shit, and then we're like, you didn't even hit the stud, or you didn't use an anchor, and now you're just like, there's
because it doesn't
pieces
even weigh
of plaster
like
falling
5 ounces. It doesn't need a freaking stud.
Libby, what are you doing? Command strips then.
She'll use thumbtacks.
Yeah, but then it'll
she
take
will
the
use thumbtacks and
wall.
hope that little hanger on the back of the picture frame will stay there. Like we have two
terrifying.
100-pound dogs.
That's called apartment living, okay? Except we don't
We're in
live
a
in an
house.
apartment. I know, but like
We've
that's
lived here for
how I used
3
to do it.
years.
Anyway,
this is not an ad for command strips, but like, oh my gosh, command strips.
Not sponsored.
I put like 6 of them on one thing at a time, and if you peel it off right and you like pull that bad boy down when it's over, it does not take the paint off.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I know what I'm doing this weekend.
Do it. Redo your whole house.
Shooting a wedding. You're leaving, and I'm gonna mess with the house.
Whatever.
No,
but we have literally lived here for 3 years, and we have not completed one project. But we've started one in every single room.
We've started like 99,000, and we finished like 5.
Wait, I take that back. The only completed room in this entire house is Elliot's room.
I feel like I'm being attacked, and I don't like it. I finished her room.
Yeah.
With a kidney stone, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I've had one of those. That's not a good time.
It is the
That is
gnarliest thing of all time. The week after our wedding, 6 days after, and I have been very, knock on wood, fortunate as far as medical things go, and I thought my appendix was about to explode, which is like a super deep irrational fear, which we can get into later, and it was like 11:30 at night, and I woke her up. I'm like, we have to go to the hospital right now.
Literally screaming.
And it was...
I will say I've had a kidney stone and I've had a baby, and it's comparable pain.
I've heard people say that before.
Like it was so this just speaks to how young and poor Matt and I were. So we were living in an apartment and I was having a kidney stone, and like, as you know, like it's not great, like lots of bad symptoms happening. Like I was like sweating and like clammy, like thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
Didn't know it was a kidney stone. Like for sure, hindsight, it's what it was. But I was on my parents' insurance and I called them and I was like, how much is it to go to the emergency room? And they're like $250. And Matt and I were like, I'll just die in my sleep. Like, not worth it. Like, we're like 22. We're like, well, I guess we'll wait till the morning. Like,
the American healthcare
yeah,
system.
I was gonna say, mine was like a CT scan.
We're like, nope, not worth it. Like, it is what it is. Like,
yeah, mine was like a CT scan at like 3 a.m. and $1,000 later. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a good time. Side note tangent about home decor and me telling you just command strips. Libby, did you ever get the aesthetic baby cabinet openers? And did you install them?
No, I did not, but I definitely need to, because you know what? Elliot has pulled all the sticky lock, what the heck are they called? Door
connectors.
Child locks?
Yeah, whatever. She has ripped all of them off. So she just opens up all the cabinets and stuff and pulls everything out.
I don't know if she's really smart or really strong, but she's accomplishing
literally
great
ripped
things.
Ripped them off of everything. Those things are real sticky.
Okay,
So,
I literally sent you a tutorial of how to use them and a link. Like, I don't know how you didn't buy them that very instant.
I'm going to go back to our messages and pull up the link.
Back to the whole house thing with all the projects we haven't got done. She doesn't do things when she's supposed to right away.
What? No, this is one example.
It's a pretty good example.
And you probably would have yelled at me for buying them. You said, we don't need those.
You would have bought them anyway, then they'd end up in a drawer somewhere.
I would say I'm also guilty of that.
Probably.
Like, I have to be in the mood to do something. Otherwise, I will just, shove it somewhere and not deal with it until later.
We have plenty of junk drawers.
I think everyone does.
Although, I feel like we're slowly kind of taking our Christmas decor, and I feel like that kind of gives us a reason to purge stuff. I don't know if you guys are that way. Like, as we're putting that stuff into storage, I feel like we've been like getting rid of random things.
When is the right time to take down a Christmas tree?
After the New Year.
I'm a January 1 girl.
Yep.
That's just me.
Same.
I love the twinkle lights. Actually, last year when it was COVID times, my husband and he was still at Hy-Vee and like was rotting from the inside out. And we were just like miserable. Was it last year? Yes. When COVID was, still really bad.
Yeah, what had it to be.
Yeah. Anyway, so we didn't take our Christmas. So January 1st came and went, and we didn't have any bulbs in the tree because we had a small, like a crawling baby at home. We're like, we're not going to deal with this year. So it was just like a tree. It wasn't really even a Christmas tree. It was a twinkle tree. And so weeks just kept going by, and we're like, it's the only good thing in our lives right now. Like, we're just going to, stay up until like April.
We literally
we're like, let's let the good times roll with this thing. Like, we took all the other decor down, but I was like, it's just our living room tree and we like it, and it brings us twinkle lights at night. So
yeah, we were the same way last year and kind of this year. We last year put our tree up like October 1st, and it stayed up until probably mid-end January.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like Christmas lights outside, I will leave up longer. I will probably be the last
probably
one.
Stay up till April.
The last one in the neighborhood to take them, at least to turn them off. I will take them down.
That's like a safety thing, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want Matt going out. I mean, especially, we got tons of ice today. I don't want him going outside to take them off. Like, we can not turn them on and just have them out there.
I think they should be on all the time. Who doesn't like Christmas lights?
Yeah, we seriously went driving around. When was that? Christmas Eve night. We drove around to look at lights.
Underwhelming.
And we came home and we're like, why aren't there Christmas lights all the time?
I remember during the pandemic, there was somebody trying to gain traction. It was one of those viral share this type post, and it was people saying something about put your Christmas lights back up for healthcare workers or something. And it was like March or April, and I wanted it to happen so bad. I was like, please, somebody get on board with this, because I will do this every year, all year. I do not care. I will go buy more if I have to. But
so do you guys go all out for Christmas?
No.
Like outside lights then?
No, we have like simple icicle ones, but there's just something about having
We
one
live in a
extra
tiny
exterior
little
lights.
rectangle house, so it's really
It dresses it up
there's
a little
like
bit.
no peaks. There's so it's like gets boring. So we just have like icicle lights, and then we have a little front porch, so we like line the porch with them, and then porch
Like
decor.
once it snows, it's all gonna look so nice, and everything's gonna be so bright and like happy.
Yeah, we haven't even had snow.
Not yet.
We kind of got some. I don't know did you guys get any? We got like a nasty ice storm with like a little bit of snow today. It was
We didn't
not
get
great.
any snow.
We had sleet and it got icy for a little bit, but that was about it.
Yeah.
I think there's supposed to be a snowstorm this weekend, so let's see if that happens.
Hopefully.
We'll see. I say my husband is Clark Griswold himself. Like, is passionate. Like, our lights outside are perfect. We have a Christmas tree, like, for no other reason in our bedroom to just be in the front window so people can see when they drive by. Like, he's passionate about it. So I think it's just going to get more and more extreme every year.
No, that's good. We like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I know Christian doesn't really want me to ask this because everybody's going to be talking about it in the next couple days, but I'm asking it anyways. With the new year coming up, are you like reflect on the past year, come up with new goals and all that type of stuff? Or are you just like, no, we're just going to roll with it?
Well, first of all, I get to see you guys on New Year's Eve.
It'll be great.
Is Christian not coming?
No.
I will be babysitting.
Oh, okay, that's fair. And for a second, when we were texting about, you're like, well, we're free most nights except for Friday, and you did like a wink face. I was like,
I know.
what is like? I was like, they're like going on a date. Like, why is she being weird? I was like, oh yeah, the wedding.
Oh
like,
yeah.
we're gonna see each other.
Yeah.
But no. So New Year's Eve, I usually do not do them, mostly because before I just had undiagnosed ADHD. I just never could follow through on anything. So I just didn't even do it just because it was something I was incapable of completing, I felt like.
Yeah.
But I feel like as I get older, I become more reflective and more intentional. And so even though I didn't do any last year, because once again, I felt like I was still just like in over my head. We had a 1-year-old at home. It was the middle worst part of the pandemic. I was just like in over my head, I felt like. I'm definitely feeling, especially now that we have like these little baby businesses, I'm feeling like we're definitely going to be writing some more things down and being more intentional and setting some more goals for ourselves.
I can see that. I am the type of person that always wants to reflect and set goals.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go and buy a new planner and new pens and
Back to the junk drawer.
yeah. And then I fill it all out.
That is like classic.
Probably. I mean,
like buy everything and be like, this is for sure going to be what gets my life in order, and then never use it again. That's like classic.
I will say we did use a wall calendar for this entire year, and it was awesome.
Pretty well.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like an online calendar you share?
Yeah, we have that too.
Okay,
Yeah, like she has
but
like
I like to
5
write
different business
things.
ones, and then it just gets chaotic.
We have like personal, we have like bills, and then we have
She'll do like
Elliot related things.
She'll have a session, say on a Thursday, and instead of putting the time of the session or the time of the appointment, she'll just let it block whatever hour it picks when she puts it in there by default. And then I'm like, oh yeah, do you have a shoot today? She goes, yeah, it's at 3. I'm like, it says 11 in the calendar. So like she's using the calendar, but not as a calendar.
How do you keep track of that? Your brain just knows like what time things are.
Yeah, because sessions are usually all at the same time right now because of the light.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah. Are you still doing outdoor sessions right now?
I had one today.
Burr. Is your gear
It wasn't. It was. Yeah. Well,
They're sealed.
as much as I can be.
Okay. Yeah.
It got sunny and nice out by 4:00 here.
It was like 30 degrees. But
this morning when I was driving in the sleet, I messaged them like, we're gonna have to reschedule, and then she's like, we can't because my sister leaves tomorrow. I'm like, oh, okay. And
was it like a couple or like an adult?
It was a family, like an extended family.
Okay. So were there any little ones there? Because I think that's where it gets hard for me is like how cold can it be before it's like not fun or safe for little ones?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There was one little one. I typically in the winter don't shoot if it's below like 20 degrees, 22 degrees, but it was like 36.
Right. And you're doing like minis. You're not doing.
Yeah, it was like a 20-minute session, 25-minute session. So
Mm-hmm. Do you like doing shorter sessions or do you like when they're more like longer? You like shorter ones?
yes. Yeah.
Is that, you think you're going to go more that direction in the future or?
I pretty much want to get away from weddings, only take a few a year. Like ones that I like really vibe with the couple.
It matters.
Yes. Just ones that I really, really vibe with the people. And
you're carving out a certain demographic and a certain audience that
I want. Yes.
I love that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I really, really, really just want to focus on boudoir and then families with little kids, like similar to you. But
yes. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. Almost every single family that books me always books a mini. I think probably because my prices, which is fine. I almost always run over on time anyway, because I never really pay attention unless I have them scheduled back to back.
I'm also considering, before my minis were only like first come, first serve. Like I launch them and they sell out. You know what I mean? Only like
I used to do it like that.
Month or 2 months. But as I'm thinking about the new year and kind of what direction I want my business to go, I think I might offer like, you know what I mean? Like maybe Monday, Tuesday, I have full sessions. And then like Thursday, I have like 2 mini sessions or something. Cause I feel like people, especially, I mean, I had a 1.5-year-old this summer and we did a mini session because
I feel like
he was going to be able to cooperate for a whole hour. Like there's just no way.
It's really difficult for those little younger kids to, 1, have the attention span for an hour, and 2, to stay happy.
Yeah.
But I would say it's also a double-edged sword, because if
I'm need them to warm up too. Like, if
I'm doing back, like at my Christmas mini sessions, I literally had like 8 back to back to back to back. And so it wasn't supposed to be that many. We got rained out one day. So it ends up being like jam packed, like less days more in each day. But one kid was screaming, and that's kind of the, you know what I mean? If you get them, well, they're good. But if they're crying, you don't have the 10 minutes of, we'll just get pictures of mom and dad, or we'll get pictures of brother for a little bit. Like, why don't you just like go hang out in the car for a minute? It's like, well, your session's over in 5 minutes, and I literally see the next people waiting there.
Right.
And that can be kind of nerve wracking. Yeah. Like I actually had the people come back at the end because they had a little one that was literally just screaming, and it was cold. You know what I mean? So I was like, we'll feed him, bring him back, and we'll try again.
Yeah. But you thrive in chaos, and I feel like I thrive in the chaos too. So
I really do.
It works out. I mean, I literally every family session, the parents are always like, my kid sucks right now. Not literally, but they feel that way, and they always like leave their shoot thinking they're not going to get any good pictures, and then I send the gallery, and they're like, wow.
I did a session for someone that I work with. I went to school for photo originally before I switched to design, and so I took pictures for a coworker, and she had her kid was 2 at the time, and the whole time she was just like, oh, I'm so sorry, she's being so awful, whatever. And I'm like, again, if I didn't have a child, this would be completely different, because having a child has changed obviously how I handle kids and like everything around that. But I think that's funny that, just kind of like what you said, it takes time for them to warm up. But once they warm up, they're like pretty candid, and they want to play up the camera too. But the parents always think their kids are just like the worst little monsters. I think some of that is the lies we say to try to cover in case your kid is being bad, or that's not what like the photographer or whoever the kid's being around for the first time is used to. But I just think it's funny how that's always the thing. Like, oh, sorry, my kid is being a little monster, when really it's just your kid. Like, no one cares. But their kids are little shits too.
Kind of depends on what the client like has in mind for this session. Like, obviously my pictures and your work, Marianne, is not like superposed traditional whatsoever. Like, we're down to run around and just like chase them and let them be kids, and like just let them.
But that's not what a parent expects. So that's why if you can capture it, they're going to be shocked. Like, oh, hey, we got a picture of my kid smiling, looking happy. I didn't know they could be happy.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably 75% of my sessions are absolute dumpster fires if they have little ones. And I always tell the parents, like, this is so normal. Like, I am not bothered. I am not overwhelmed. This is a new, strange environment. I'm asking them to do different things. Like, I expect them. And I try to kind of put that point across in my branding. Like, let them be little, let them run. The more you try and like strap them down and make them smile, they're just going to scream. I'd rather have a picture of your kid running and giggling and not, you know what I mean? Like sitting perfectly and nicely than them like sitting there like with tears in their eyes, because you know what I mean? And so I'm very much the same way as you. I'm all about the candid and fun and goofy. I usually try and start with like the everyone looking picture, because they're a little bit like afraid of me at first. Like they're just kind of like, I'll do this. And then we lose them usually after like 10 minutes. And then we just kind of play games and run and take turns with siblings taking individual pictures while other ones can run around and be crazy. And I wouldn't have it any other way. It's so fun. Are you an introvert or an extrovert, Libby?
Me? Yeah. I am 5,000% an introvert.
I don't believe that. I
am.
I think that if you were, wouldn't weddings just absolutely drain you?
They do. They literally suck the life out of me, and I have to recover for like 3 days after.
I think she is more middle though than anything, and when I met you,
I don't like to be around people.
you were such a loud, obnoxious, like socially outgoing person.
Yes, I am, but I don't
And
like
with her people.
But
that's
it
what
takes-
an introvert is.
it takes a lot for me to like
This is
step
at like
into those situations.
This was at like the Starbucks in a Target though, in public, being extremely loud.
Yeah,
and
but I'm
obnoxious.
also a very different person than I was in high school when I was in Target yelling at you.
I still think you're more extroverted than you think you
I
are.
don't think.
Because what I was going to say is the crazier my sessions are, I'm like 10 to 10, could not be more extroverted. I'm a psycho. Like I come home and I'm like jazzed up because like there was so much action happening. Like it's hard for me to like go to bed sometimes after like evening sessions.
I think.
So do you not get that way? Does it like kind of like zen you out? Like, you know what I mean? You have to.
Yeah,
go home.
I feel like maybe. Okay, so maybe I am like extroverted introvert. Is that a thing? Or
Yes.
introverted extrovert? It's one of those. I can't remember. Yeah. Maybe I'm that, and maybe my issue is that I have social anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So like the combo is just weird because when I am around people, I'm able to talk and like be outgoing.
I think
and
the pandemic
fun and
impacts a lot of that though for people too, because now, I mean, even starting 2 years ago, like to go anywhere, all of a sudden that freedom, that safety net of like going even to Target or the store or whatever, like that used to just be a normal thing. Like, hey, I'm gonna run to the gas station and get a drink and chips or something. And now everywhere you go, it just became like a hazmat situation, and everyone was like so locked down. So I think that's how I think a lot of your social anxiety came to, at least my knowledge, because I am extremely socially anxious, and that is not a secret or a surprise to anyone,
No,
even though I work in retail and I'm in public.
But you
all
don't
day, every
like,
day.
you're not like customer service. You're,
I mean, I am. I'm not like
you're not
a
up
cashier,
front.
but
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what I am. I'm a mystery.
you're Libby.
Oh, she's mysterious.
Who is she?
God. Who am I? I guess I know what I'm reflecting on in the next couple days.
That's fair. So do you have any goals for 2022, either of you? Are you planning on setting any? Yes, that's a good segue.
We do have goals.
Yeah. So about 6 months ago, this summer, we got really serious about moving. I've worked the same job since I was 16 with a few breaks for school and stuff. So it's kind of scary to imagine, but definitely want to go do something else while I can. The goal is still to be self-employed and or to work with her.
If you didn't know, Christian struggles with commitment.
I really don't, though. I mean, I've been very
You
committed to the
do.
same thing for how many years now?
Maybe you and my husband should go out for dinner or grab a drink sometime, because he like had an identity crisis, almost like breaking up with, you know what I mean, his employer.
I mean,
it's been so long, it's all he ever knew, and he was extremely loyal and committed, and so it's to leave that is a big deal.
All right, that's a better way to put it.
Well, and I've tried to explain it to her too, because it makes, there's a lot more pressure on me in the situation of us wanting to move. Like, we want to move to the Des Moines area, and
Huxley is a great place, just north of Des Moines. Yeah.
like with her being able to work wherever, whether it is photo or her clay business or whatever, she can do that from here. She can do that from Des Moines. She can do that from wherever remotely.
But it will still be difficult to start over wherever.
But you've already
go.
established clients in the area. You could still drive here, but like I'm uprooting something that I've worked 13 years on. So it definitely does change that dynamic a little bit. And it's something that is way more intimidating for me to like look for a job for the first time since I was 16. And I mean, I guess I was looking for jobs after college, but it's definitely a big commitment, and it's something that we're very serious about. But then she hit busy season and had 97,000 weddings in a row and everything. So it kind of fell back. So a big goal is to move.
In the next like 6 months.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And then mine is to take this way more seriously. I mean, we're officially, this is episode 4, but we've done 5. We have a lot planned. And so a lot of that just comes down to putting ourselves out there, networking, using social media. I really want to build up TikTok and Instagram and stuff and kind of see where that goes. But so use this for that. And I mean, ultimately I want to start taking more pictures and shooting more video and kind of getting into that world a little bit. And then
Would you guys ever cross over? I mean, if you do photography and videography, would that
I
ever be?
literally beg him like every single week.
I don't want to do weddings and I don't want to do families. So I think I want to get more into like the lifestyle.
He wants to do like
themed
branding and like creative portraits. And
with my design background, like brand identity is like what I loved, like creating a logo and then building the whole image of the business off of that. And so I'd love to do that. And I've always really, really wanted to get into video. And that's why at least this having to shoot video and edit and, you know, mess with it that way is a great way. But
I'm not your person to talk to then, because after watching my husband live through it, I have like feelings about it. Like,
yeah,
do it.
See,
that's what I'm like, just freaking do it. Let's
and
go.
Then I'm guessing his response is the same as mine, where it's not that easy. Like there's too many other things to figure out. And that's
then
why
I'm always like, did you look at jobs tonight?
It's not that easy. People do it all the time. And how I felt about it is the corporate hamster wheel will always be waiting for you. There'll always be another opening that has similar responsibility or similar pay to you. Like, but do you want to be 90? You know what I mean? Looking back and being like, I never know. Like with flights, like we've never done this before. We might absolutely fall on our faces, but we can always say we tried and we did it.
And you can always go back to IV.
Oh, exactly. I said Hy-Vee will always be hiring, honey. Like
again,
you can always.
But that glorifies it too, because I mean, it's like it's allowing yourself to potentially have an extremely expensive, wasted time mistake.
And I don't want to sound like neither of us come from money. We are not privileged. Like I don't want us to sound like it's
right.
like, well,
I wasn't implying that, but Libby's
like,
always like, you could just try it. I'm like, but like that kind of defeats the purpose. If you're gonna try it, that's like getting married with the intent of getting divorced. Like we tried. It's fine.
I don't agree with that.
But what I'm saying is, I guess don't try it. I'm saying jump off the cliff, take the plunge,
go for it.
Yes, like be vulnerable enough to say, like, I'm going to put everything I have into this. And if it fails, like, then I know. Like, it's really vulnerable and scary. And that's been, like I say, I have like feelings about that. Like, I just think that you only have one life. And if you're living for the weekend, it's not worth it. And like I said, you have to think like, obviously money and food and providing for a family. I complete, like, those all come into play. Clearly,
but he also has a wife that can support the family in the meantime. Mm-hmm. I literally always tell him, you will never know unless you try.
Right. But I mean, it took you, 2 years before we let you go full time with photo and quit your job. And then we had a child. So then you could stay home full time and do that as well.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, you have to plant that seed first. There's not just like, I don't have a business that I'm actively doing. I do freelance design. I'll do freelance photography every once in a while. But like, I don't have anything that I can just be like, okay, bye. Like, job that pays me well and everything, and like here's this. I mean, that'd be like
logistics are a huge part of it. Like 100%. Everyone wants to follow their dream, but obviously life gets in the way. You know what I mean? You still have responsibilities and things. But I just want to be your cheerleader. You can do it. Think of how much more you could get done if you had all this time to devote. I mean, I did our branding for Flight and like it was miserable and I hate it. And I wish I would have known you did it. I would have paid you to do it. You know what I mean? Like there's people out there that want your services. They just don't even know it's an option.
Right.
So.
Oh, I love you for this.
I'm just saying. Like I said, I am not your person to talk to because it was me, you know what I mean, talking to my husband probably like 3 years. Like, you can do this. Like, you're so smart. You're so talented. Like, just go for it. You know what I mean? So I'll be your cheerleader. You can do it.
I believe that I can do it. And that's the weird thing too. Like, I fully believe that anything I want to do, I can do.
Absolutely.
Not in the like, hey, I could do this. Like, I'm not going to go to the moon. But if I really wanted to go to the moon, I believe that you could make that happen. And so that's why I don't disagree that I can do it. It's just
anxieties and fears of...
No. Don't dress it that way.
Okay, but that's part of it.
Well, of course that's part of it. But it has to be practical. There has to be a practical sense to make it realistic first. Compared to you couldn't just quit your job. Realistic. Like,
I can't say the word.
I'm just meaning like if I wanted to start a restaurant, I couldn't just quit my job to start the restaurant. You have to plan the restaurant first and then quit your job to run the restaurant.
To be clear, we've been planning this since like last November. You know what I mean? We've been and so going to the meetings, creating business plans, meeting with vendors. Like it's been a lot. We were both working double time for like a year before. Yeah. So that is true. It's not like one day we're like, we're going to do this. Like that's far from truth. Yes.
So that's where my goal for 2022, is this 2021, is to start that for myself. So then whether I have another job between this and self-employment or my next job is self-employment, realistically, it's probably not going to be self-employment, but that I'm setting myself up for that next and building what I want to build, whether it is part of your business or not. I want to start that. So then in a year or two, I can be like, hey, remember 2 years ago when I started that? This is what I'm doing full time now.
Mm-hmm. Do it. It's like, I'm not.
She's sitting here smiling, and I don't like.
You were like, realistically, the next one won't be self-employed. I want to be like, why not?
Yes,
because there's nothing. I can't. Right, but tell me how that would work.
I promise, like, pay me to do this.
This is how we're different, because that's what he does. He's like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. I'm like, why doesn't it? Why doesn't it?
Because tell me how I could possibly make enough money to just quit my job right now.
I'm not saying that.
You just did. You said just make it happen then. And that's what I'm saying. It's not realistic.
I'm saying you can still have your job while you're looking for other ones and interviewing and
that's not the conversation, though. The conversation is self-employment.
Okay.
So you're skipping a step, which is what I'm saying is not the realistic part.
I thought we were just talking about moving in general.
No.
Sorry, audience.
Libby doesn't listen always.
Lord help us.
I believe in you. I'm your cheerleader. You can do it. And I'm excited if you guys move to the Des Moines area because we'd be close by and we could be self-employed friends who can talk about ownership.
We need more friends.
We have zero.
You have friends, just not here.
One of our barriers for both of us being self-employed, and we really went back and forth of, do I find a job as insurance and benefits? So that was one thing we were worried about. And we ultimately decided that we're going to, go on open market and get our own instead of me having a job that had insurance coverage. And there's the same thing, you know what I mean? There's give and take everywhere. And we're just kind of like, you know what? People do this. That's kind of what made me feel better. Same thing about self-employment. Like, people do this. Then we started thinking about people we knew that, like, both people did own businesses or they owned a small business, and you know what? They're doing it. We can do it. Like, we can cut corners. We can figure things out in order for us to, have a life. Cause we also, Matt at Hy-Vee, he was just working like every night, weekend, holiday, 13, 14-hour days. And it just finally got to the point where it was like, I want you here. Like, I would rather live in a box and, you know what I mean? Or they're cut back on luxuries, like drive one car and, you know what I mean? Just have you here and happy. Cause he was just turning into like a shell of a person, I felt like, slowly but surely. So
that sounds so familiar.
Retail is really hard.
It
really,
is
really hard.
Not only on the worker, but people he's living with too.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't worked in food or retail, I mean, it definitely is its own beast. Not that I know the creative industry and working weddings and everything is not fun either all the time. Obviously, it's fun, but you know what I mean.
Different type.
Yeah, but I mean, there's not a whole lot like working 4 or 5 a.m.s on, the week before Christmas or the week after Thanksgiving or the day after and all that madness.
That was the other thing. He dreaded holidays because holidays weren't like fun and relaxing. I don't know if you feel that way working in retail. Like, Thanksgiving was more crazy. Christmas was more crazy. Like, Mother's Day, crazy. 4th of July, crazy. Like, it wasn't like the fun, warm and fuzzies. It was like,
Christian would rather work those days to get his time and a half. And I'm like, no, you need to spend it with your family.
The holiday itself is not busy though. Usually it's the prep up to that.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Like,
And I've had this conversation with people a lot in the last 2 weeks, as I'm sure you can imagine working in retail, but, it definitely takes the fun out of the holidays, which really sucks having a 20-month-old and stuff at home. Like, the holidays are supposed to be fun now. It's all supposed to be like magical again, quote unquote. And it definitely isn't. And that's another reason why I would like out of retail. And I've wanted out of retail for a long time. I mean, going back, I would have left a long time ago, but it's tough when you like the people and the job's not rocket science and, it's comfortable. So that's the bigger issue, but it's not fulfilling in the sense of being a creative. And that's another reason why we needed something like this to talk to other creatives to get our creative juices flowing, but also to get some fulfillment out of working on something. Like, when I get to do this and then tomorrow I'll edit it for a couple hours, and like, even spending the time on that is not work. And it's enjoyable because you're putting something creative into something that you've already made, and it is more fulfilling, which sucks because you don't get paid for it. But that's the goal.
What I was getting at earlier when I was saying how when you work for yourself, it's intrinsic. Like, Matt and I are working probably more now than we ever have collectively. But when it's your project and your thing, time flies by and it doesn't feel tedious. And no one's like checking up on you. You're not meeting the deadline because someone wrote it somewhere and said you have to do it. You're you're meeting it because you feel like the rhythm of it and you know what needs to be done. And yeah, it's way more fun.
So getting away from the work talk for a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, audience.
Well, but I think it's a good conversation, and that's another good thing about this is we can talk about whatever we want to talk about, whether it is work or not. But I think it's a good conversation for people who maybe want to take that leap or who haven't taken that leap. And a lot of our guests are people who have taken that leap.
This is a topic that, well, me and you at least could talk about forever.
Mm-hmm.
Because we literally talk about it almost every single day.
Yeah, literally. So when you're not working and when you're not wrangling a 2-year-old, what do you like to spend your time on? I know we talked about hobbies a little bit, but in this sense, like, do you watch trashy TV? Do you just hang out on the couch? I think
like to be outdoors.
You seem too ADD to just be like a lazy, like loungy person. So do you take time to just relax, or how do you decompress? And what are some of your guilty pleasures as far as TV and movies go?
I can be pretty lazy. Like I definitely like to sit and binge. I can kind of go into like an ADHD like paralysis and like just completely disassociate and like become one with the couch when time allows. Not that I have a 2-year-old that I'm chasing around who's an absolute psycho. But oh gosh, so right now we're watching Ozark. I love anything that's like dark thriller. Like if it doesn't have like 7 warnings at the top when the show starts, like I don't want it. I'm gonna say like substances, nudity, like profanity. I'm like, then why am I watching it? Like, which is funny because I feel like I'm like very like bubbly, warm and fuzzy. Like if some people, if they are my clients and I've done family photography, they're probably gonna be like, what? Because I feel like I'm very like warm and fuzzy and cuddly and like kiddish, but that's what I like in my free time. So yeah, I really like anything dark and interesting. Love good like documentary that's like messed up. Like I don't know why I'm like this. I just am.
Messed up like serial killers and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
All that stuff. My favorite movie is Silence of the Lambs. Like I love like, weird twisty stuff. Trashy stuff. I haven't watched it in a while, but Teen Mom 2 just like does something to me. It is
never got into that
for my brain. I think part of it is I started watching it in high school. So when I watch it, it's like very nostalgic. Like they launched season like 1 and 2 on Netflix like a year ago or something. And it was like things I watched when I was like 16. And I was like, it was just like the warmest, fuzziest, like trash of all time. So I love that. But other than that, so yeah, my husband and I definitely like to like watch shows and TV shows and movies together. But other than that, like I said, I'm a huge extrovert. All I want to do is hang out with friends. Like it doesn't really matter what we're doing. I love game nights like a lot.
I like game nights.
Yes. My favorite game of all time is Hodgepodge, also known Fishbowl. I'm trying to think what else people call it. Have you ever heard of it?
I've heard Fishbowl before. Yeah.
It's like anytime I go somewhere, once again, I'm an extrovert. I like get people like riled up. I'm like, who wants to play a game? And I like get everyone's attention. I like facilitate this entire game. Like it's so people that don't know. It's a combination of like catchphrase, charades, and like what's like the 1-word game? I can't remember like what the actual like game is called.
1-word game.
Anyway, but so yeah, my ideal night is like to go. We live in a really young neighborhood with a bunch of young families. So I'll just like put our kids down and like watch our monitors and like go next door and like
that's the
play
goal.
Games.
That's what I want. I want like involved neighbors, like a neighborhood that people just like want to be outside and like all the dudes stand around a grill and just like shoot the shit. Like
okay. Once again, boycotting for Huxley for you guys. We live adult college. That's why I told people like, so what happened was our street was built in 2017 when we all moved in. So almost all of us were like first time homeowners. And so none of us really knew what we were doing. And we all moved in at the same time. So it's literally like when you move into your dorm. And so it's like, hey, where are you getting your washer and dryer? Who are you using for garbage? You got to get to know each other. Like, and we all have our houses are built by the same builders who are having like similar issues and similar like hoops to jump through. And so we all had kids around the same time. We like know a bunch of our neighbors like garage codes because we like bring their packages inside if we like need them to. And I've literally like watched monitors with people like all the time. And we have all the guys like smoke meat and like trade little containers of it, like of the stuff they did. Like it's seriously like we live in a not real land and I love it here. It's the best thing ever.
It's a TV show.
And you're still close to Des Moines or Ames or...
we're literally like 7 miles from Ames, like 7 miles from Ankeny, and like, I don't know, 20 miles from Des Moines. So we could be anywhere we wanted to, like any fun, exciting thing happening. Like we have a college town in the capital.
Right.
Yeah, like, I could never live in Ames.
It's too expensive for one.
Well, not only that, everything is on one freaking street and it's always packed.
It's chaos.
That's actually the road you take and it turns into Huxley. It's actually the road that Flight is on. So Duff turns into 69, which is the road that Flight is on. So that road is super, super traveled. And
yes,
that's
good for you.
Yes, talking about Ames being expensive is actually how we ended up in Huxley. Was we were living. I went to Iowa State. I was working in Ames, and so we were living in an apartment. The apartment I had the kidney stone in, the $250 kidney stone. And so when we were looking at buying a house, we found out that we could buy like a 2-bed, 1-bath in Ames, like needed a new furnace and roof for the same price we could build our 4-bedroom house here in Huxley.
Yeah.
And we're from a small town, so we weren't like afraid of it. You know, we weren't like, oh, like settling down in like middle of nowhere. We're like, small towns are cool and fun and we'd be near everything. So that's how it happened for us. Because yes, Ames is so expensive.
And it's not even like for good housing. Like a lot of it's older and run down because it's been through so many cycles of college kids. And I mean,
I mean, there are really, really nice parts of Ames, but that was so incredibly out of our price point at 23 and we were buying a house, like laughable. We could have never lived in like, the nice houses in Ames, but we're really, really happy with Huxley. So do you guys know where in Des Moines? I guess you guys like Beaverdale. You have Beaverdale vibes.
I have.
Christian wants a brand new build.
Yeah.
And I like,
that's for sure.
Yeah. I like houses with character. So
maybe I'm picking up your vibe more than.
Yeah. But you want to build too. We want to build our own house.
I want to
eventually
build my own and have its own character.
That's probably not the next house. That'll be the next house.
I don't want like a cookie cutter, all look the same and, you know.
But at that point, like, are you really going to complain about it?
I wouldn't complain about it, but there'd be a lot of shit I'd want to do to it for it being brand new.
I just think with character comes age, and with age comes problems. I mean, our house was built in the late 50s, early 60s.
And it has no character.
It doesn't have a lot of character. It's very square and stuff, and we've put a lot of work into it. But it's not cookie cutter, but it doesn't have character either. So cookie cutter doesn't have, did I say cookie character?
So that's where the throw pillows come into play.
Exactly. They don't understand. We got to add texture in here somehow.
Yes.
So Matt and I both grew up in like my parents' house built like 1906. Like Matt's parents would built maybe like the 1800s, even like old, big, beautiful like farmhouses. So when Matt and I were looking, that's what we wanted. But then we found out like, oh, you can't have a finished basement because the basements are like crawl spaces, and the heating system is this and that. Like there are lots of hiccups and issues. So I'm kind of with you, Libby. My ideal scenario would be like a newer build that has charm, that has like
you can put your touch on,
like a wraparound porch. Like that's because I want all those things, but
I want arched doorways and like hallway. You know, they're like no.
There are builders in Des Moines that could do that. It's just gonna.
I know.
You're gonna pay for it.
I know.
I mean, like who's the home builder? There's two. Lauren Conrad does the pictures for one of them.
Birch,
do you know what I'm talking about?
Birch,
is that her? Yeah. And then I can only think of the photographers that take the pictures. So I'm like Kelsey Sutton does the pictures for another one that's like a beautiful home builder.
Yeah, I follow a couple of them on Instagram.
Yes. And they have like character and detail, but also it comes at a price. But I'm with you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We looked a little bit in like the Urbandale area. My twin brother lives in the Urbandale area, but I mean, then you get pretty close to Grimes and Waukee, like that whole little corner.
All those new developments, they're literally like stacked on top of each other. The driveway is like 2 inches long, and like
less to shovel.
I don't want that. It all looks the same, and it's.
Would you guys ever do? Would you go the opposite direction, like Altoona, Bondurant? Because it's like the east version. You know what I mean?
Would go anywhere down there.
Yeah, some of that depends on where and if I get a job and commute wise. But
my sister lives in the art museum area. I don't know what you call that, but like Terrace Hill area.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, Ankeny is really nice too. So like it just depends on.
Really expensive.
Well, yeah, but it just depends on where you land and what you're going to be close to. Because again, I mean, how often are people driving to downtown unless your job's down there? So like it just depends on what are you doing, and then you can drive wherever. It's still going to be shorter than for us. It's an hour and a half now to go to Des Moines for the day or something. So yeah,
if it makes you feel any better, I feel like anywhere within a certain bubble of Des Moines is like Huxley's very much an overnight town. Like there's not really much business here, and tons of people commute to Des Moines,
Right.
and it's like 25 minutes, and you know what I mean? It's not ideal, but it's doable. So I feel like anywhere within, you know what I mean, a certain radius will be feasible.
Yeah.
But I know east of, I feel like they kind of maxed out west of Des Moines, like the Grimes, Waukee, Urbandale, and now so I think Bondurant and Altoona are really growing.
Yeah.
And putting in next some really nice houses. So maybe something to look into.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens, but I'm hoping to make it happen in the next like 6 months.
Let me get through New Year's first.
That's what you always say.
Give me another couple
First
days to
let
rest.
me get through Thanksgiving, and then it was let me get through Christmas, and then it'll be Valentine's Day.
Since New Year's is coming up, are you guys believers that like the week between, I think maybe you posted it, Libby. Maybe it was you. I screenshotted it. Like these days are sacred. Like I don't want to be a human being. I don't want to even breathe. Like I
didn't even know it was Tuesday. He came home. He's like, "Are we recording tonight?" I'm like, "I think so."
Yes. I think these days in between Christmas and New Year's, I think that more companies that can be closed should be closed. Like no one's productive anyway. You know what I mean? Like I understand some businesses need to be open, but
Valentine's Day is set. Our candy is out already. Like that's the thing. Like for me,
it never stops.
For me and my job, like I specifically do signing for our store, and so like there is no rest. Like it is constant. Like this time of year is reset for me, and so the amount of work I've done in the last 48 hours is absurd.
You should really, you should seriously talk to my husband, because that's the life he lived at Hy-Vee. He was constantly doing resets and building displays. And
one of my best friends is an assistant manager for Fairway, and then another is an assistant manager for Walmart. And so it's been really funny to compare with them too about like just the chaos that we all deal with. And it's the same across the board, but
I also don't know if you have this. I felt like he had this with his coworkers he worked with at Hy-Vee. Like you almost have blinders on, like you're in the tunnel. Like you don't realize how like chaotic it is, and not like other industries aren't as stressful as that until, because everyone's living it and you're breathing it. And
and it's really funny to, I applied for a job in Ankeny. That was like 6 months ago when we were really considering this and kind of weighing our options. And the amount of things that I can put on a resume because of the one position. I mean, I've had like 6 positions within the store, but like from human resources to customer service to marketing. And I mean, there's just 1,000 things that you don't realize you do on an everyday basis that fit so well with other jobs. And that's something that I think I've probably taken for granted, and so does everyone else who works there. But the skill set is far above and beyond the job description that you have. And anyone in retail or service industry of any sort probably feels that too.
You're trying to be very careful with your words.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to speak poorly of my employer, but I don't have anything bad to say about them. It's just my time has run its course.
Industry. It doesn't matter where you were. It's just the industry. It's just the reality of it.
Right. And I think my time has run its course, and I've told them that openly. Like, this isn't my long-term goal. And there's nothing against the people whose long-term goal it is. It's just, I've been there forever, and I didn't want to be there forever. And here we are.
On to the next. Yeah.
It's that comfort zone.
Right.
Where did you work before you were self-employed, Libby?
I, right out of high school, I interned for a church here in Fort Dodge, and throughout college, I kind of grandfathered in. Well, not really. I applied and interviewed or whatever for the position that I was interning, became the actual role. So I was the youth and young adult coordinator at a church here in town. And then I left there, and then I worked for the public schools.
Oh, very
cool. In the HR office. So, yeah.
What's your degree in, or do you have a degree?
Human Services and Psychology.
Mine is Child, Adult, and Family Services. We knew we liked people. We shouldn't know what we wanted to do with them. So
that wasn't my issue. I actually was in the photo program and dropped out with 1 term left to go because...
You didn't drop out. You switched.
Okay.
You didn't like flunk out.
Well,
when people say drop out, it just makes me think like they quit.
Okay, but I was at college specifically for the photo program, and with 1 term left, I'm like, nah, because the instructor was so old school, and I felt like I was literally learning nothing. I was just wasting my time and my money. And so
we were talking about this earlier. I think we weren't recording though. How I would rather like I can watch videos on photography. You can sit me in a class, but it's so much more exciting to shoot alongside someone and actually do it. It's so different, and you can learn so much more that way.
Yeah. I felt like I knew everything he was teaching us in the 2 years I was in it.
Yeah, and at that point, I mean, you either know how to take a picture or you don't. You need to learn the business side. You need to learn the design side if you want to pair that with things. And that's why I was like, okay, I'm going to go learn something else to complement this. I already know how to set the settings on a camera and click shoot.
Yeah. So then I was working for the church, and they basically said I needed to go to school for a degree that relates to what I was doing. So I was going to go to UNI and do art stuff there, but then I ended up staying in Fort Dodge working for the church and did Buena Vista Online for human services, and the whole thing sucked.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But you have the paper, and now we can probably burn it someday.
And I haven't paid 1 penny towards my student loans, and now I don't have to till May again.
Thanks, Cody.
So
I biggest regret in my life was finishing college.
Yeah, actually, probably I wouldn't say biggest regret, but
everybody, my grandma especially, everybody, you will always be glad you did it. No.
Yeah,
I literally, it makes me cringe and cry every time I think about the amount of money I spent for nothing.
We are going to encourage our kids, one, to take a gap year or years in between high school and college and get a job, figure out what you like, figure out who you are, like, and then 2, get an associate's, go to a community college, do it for more affordable, learn a trade. You know what I mean? Like, that's something no one can ever take away from you. If you know how to do electrical work, you have that skill for life.
Yeah, or carpentry or something.
That's what I wish I would have done.
Yeah.
Like, as Matt and I always talk about, like, what could our lives have been if we would have both gone to like a local 2-year university, and he would have become an electrician or a plumber, and I would have become like a dental hygienist. We would have worked for a few years, both making way more money than we, you know what I mean?
Right.
Could have, and then we could have gone back to school if we wanted to. But I mean, right now we don't necessarily need, both of us have 4-year degrees, and I don't know if we're necessarily utilizing them right now. It's just skills we've learned over time.
Yeah. Right. I feel like I didn't even learn one thing in my, I'm not sure. I did take a course on sleep, which was very interesting, but other than that, I literally
did you
felt
learn anything? Because now your podcast is called Too Tired, so I don't know if that really is you actually.
That's because it's 9:30 and we shoot at night.
Yeah,
that's right.
Which wasn't even intentional, so that's kind of funny.
No, it wasn't.
I think college as a whole, I don't regret having the experiences of living on my own, and like I went to a 2-year school and then transferred to a 4-year university to finish my degree, but it's still, I think the life lessons and the experience you get is great, but I think the $40,000 piece of paper. You
weren't even like I was typical college party.
No, right. And so I think I robbed myself of a lot of the college experience, but I think the college experience that I did get was still just not worth the money. And ultimately, I think I don't want to say the job market, but the whole.
It's absurd that you need degrees for certain jobs.
Right. I think what's the word I want here? Things have just changed away from needing a degree to go get a good job. I think now everything is so experience-based, and maybe that's due to the success of maybe the overnight success of social media people and being able to learn things on YouTube. Like, how many things could you put on your resume that you could literally sit and learn off YouTube in like the next month? A lot of stuff, whether it's marketing and design or photography and videography. So I think that might be part of it too. But I think from like our parents or even older siblings to us, that was a huge gap. And now from us to our kids, it's going to be another big gap of like, maybe college isn't even worth it. And maybe college will evolve and modernize where a lot of it's not even necessary. So,
or be free
or be cheaper, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And say, what was I going to say? I had a really good segue. Now I can't remember. I was going to say, what I was going to say is you feel like, I felt like when I was in high school, the only thing I was trying to do was to get the grades to get into college.
Right.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking about skills. I wasn't thinking about what I wanted to be. All I was doing was I was like being a cow being herded into this like one pen, like I had to go to college, and then I went to college and they're like, what do you want to do? And I was just so incredibly lost.
And then they herd you into another pen.
Yeah. And I mean, I was 18 and not doing well mentally. And they're like, what do you want to do forever? You know what I mean? Like, and I didn't understand as an 18-year-old, and even though I did learn a lot of valuable things in my program, but in college as a whole, probably more than my program specifically for child and family services. But I wasn't thinking about job outlook, market, income. I wasn't thinking I was going to be working a human services job for like $30,000 a year. You know what I mean? I didn't even have a grasp on what life was when I made that decision.
Yeah.
I didn't know that $30,000 wasn't a lot of money. I didn't know, you know what I mean? I didn't know what expenses were. I didn't know.
But to our parents 20 years ago, $30K was like comfortable.
I literally thought $13 an hour working a church job was like killing it.
Target's minimum wage is $15 an hour.
$13 an hour as an adult living on my own.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, they were literally just like, 18-year-old Marianne, what do you like to do? And I was like, I like kids. You know what I mean? Like I had no idea what I liked. And I just studied kids without any sort of thoughts as to what the big picture looked like. So Matt and I, if our kids want to go to college right after high school, like we'll support them. But I think we're going to very much be like, go be a person, get some experience, know who you are, figure out what jobs you don't want to have. That way you really want to haul ass when you get to college to get the job you do want to have. You know,
I am 100% on board for that method.
Yeah. 1000%. Yes. And so if I could do it all over again, I would do it differently. Although with that said, after a certain point, had a good college experience and met some of the most wonderful friends of all time. So there's, you know what I mean? But also you don't know where life, you know what I mean?
Right.
What's behind the closed door that you never took. But I got really, really good friendships. One of them, Elisa, whose wedding you're doing. So.
All right. Well, with that said, we like to end our podcast episodes with a little. Tonight
game.
We're going to, a little game of some sort. Tonight we're going to do this or that. Okay. They're just quick fire, one answer questions that I'm going to ask. So are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
They're like really lighthearted, so it's fine.
Okay.
All right. Delivery or a sit-down restaurant?
Sit down.
Board games or video games? And when I say video games, I mean like Wii, Mario Kart.
Digital.
Like, yeah.
Board games.
Okay. Physical copy of a book or like a Kindle audiobook?
Audiobook. I cannot sit down and read. Same time.
Again, ADD.
I have to be walking while I'm listening to it.
Country or city?
Country, but close to amenities.
Like small town.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
All right. Now, do you have your toilet paper over or under?
Over. Hands down, over.
All right. Pancakes, waffles, or French toast?
Pancakes. Yeah, all three. Oh, did I lose you on that one?
You lost us both.
I mean, waffles, probably French toast and pancakes.
French toast. Cinnamon French toast.
That is not what you asked.
Okay. In-store shopping or online?
Depends on what I'm getting. Sometimes I like to touch the thing that I'm getting. Like sometimes I need to like feel it, see it. But you can always get better stuff online, I feel like. So probably more. I'd probably do more online.
All right. Shower or bath?
Shower.
Cone or dish?
Dish. Shake. Okay. They got plans. See, like I'll continue.
Roller coaster or bumper cars?
Ooh, roller coaster.
No way.
I live for the thrill. Like my favorite. Although I haven't been on one since I had a kid, and I feel like my inner ear is totally different. I feel like I get dizzy more easily now. So TBD if I still like those.
Giving gifts or receiving?
Doesn't like a brat if I say receiving.
No.
I'm bad at giving gifts. It stresses me out so much.
There you go. I like giving, but I also really love receiving, so it's fine. Jeans or sweatpants?
Sweatpants.
Hell yeah. Fake.
Hell yeah.
If they're jeans, they have to go up to exactly here, and they need to be 90% spandex.
That's right. Do you do fake or real Christmas tree?
Fake.
Yeah. Spider-Man or Iron Man?
Don't care. Don't really know anything about either. Although I love The Dark Knight.
Okay,
so
Batman.
Close.
I say Batman.
Batman's fine.
Ugh. All right. Now this is how we really.
There's no wrong answer, but that's the wrong answer.
This will really make it or break
this
it.
This determines
Marianne.
if we can be friends.
Chips.
Oh, I'm going so well.
Chips and queso or chips and salsa?
Yes. Queso.
All right.
I mean, either one's correct for me.
Salsa?
Yes, I'd like to do a little habsy, like a little salsa on there, and then dunk her into the queso.
No,
like it's
salsa is literally garbage.
So, I can like a good salsa. Like if there's like black bean and corn in it. That's a good time.
It's like a texture. I have texture issues with food. Salsa is just like mush in your mouth. It's gross.
But then the chip is crunchy, so
right. Libby's weird. It's fine. How can people find you? Where can they find you? How can we promote you? We will link your socials, but tell the people where they can find you at.
Everything's pretty much the same across the board. On Facebook, it is Pacha Photo Co. On Instagram, it is.
Can you spell that for our audience?
Great question. Absolutely. Pacha. Do you want me to spell like the whole
Pacha.
thing?
Yeah, it sounds like Pacha, but it's Pacha.
Pacha. It's say. So once again, I told Libby and Christian this briefly, but my husband is lucky that he's so cute and funny. Otherwise, I would have never taken this name. Like, my life is a dumpster fire. That was one thing of naming our son. His name was Warren. We wanted something that was super phonetic because we didn't want him to have two names that people were never going to be able to understand. So, so yes, Pacha Photo Co. on Facebook and Instagram.
And your other business?
Oh yeah, Flight Bar and Grill.
Are you promoting it or are we promoting it?
Can you tell our hair is just like a little bit on fire? I'm just thinking like this is like the creative podcast, like Pacha Photo Co. But yeah, Flight Bar and Grill. Once again, same on both platforms. It's Flight Bar plus Grill on Facebook, and then at Flight Bar and Grill on Instagram. Come follow along. Yeah, we're hoping to open here really soon, have a few soft openings. We have a membership program for anyone who's local. You can invite to like a really fun, exclusive soft opening event. And then we're hoping to have the full shebang in February.
We'll come do a live podcast from Flight.
Be
Stop
really
it.
loud,
Do it.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
Do you like to, we're going to have golf simulators. Are you a golf guy, Christian?
I want to be a golf guy, but I'm not a golf guy because I don't golf, but I want to golf.
Really?
I love golf.
A golf guy.
Am I a golf girl? No way.
Oh, me either. We got invited to like a couples golfing thing, and they're like, "Do you want to come?" I was like, "If you want fun company, absolutely. If you want someone who's going to be good, like ask someone else."
not even fun company. I just don't have the patience to sit there and watch people hit balls and miss 500 times.
I should also say the one I went to was best ball, and so you literally just like you're not swinging that often.
I could do like a range. Like where you just literally stand there.
That's essentially what the simulator is. It's a video game with a range.
Yeah, that I could do.
Yeah.
I'll come check it out.
Come check her out.
All right. We want to thank everyone for their support after these first several episodes. Make sure you are subscribing if you're watching us on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Leave 5-star reviews. You can do that on Spotify now as well.
Just a click. You don't have to
you
type
don't have to actually write anything. Follow us on all social medias. That'll be linked below. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
All that jazz.
Yeah, there's plenty. If you want to be on the podcast, shoot us an email at wearetootired@gmail.com. Or if you have any feedback, also send us messages on Instagram or Facebook. We will respond to you and appreciate any feedback. Marianne, it was great to meet you. It was great to have you on.
Thank you so much. So fun to chat with you guys.
Can't wait to see you on Friday.
I know. I can't wait.
It's going to be good. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
Until
next time.
Bye.
Bye.